Good afternoon, everyone. This is the RCEURO Thought Leader Conversations. Today I'm with Mio Perin in New York. Hi, Mio. How you doing?
All right, rock and rolling, feeling good.
That's great. I'm hoping that the weather's nice in New York. I mean, we're in springtime weather here. What's it like there today?
Uh, yeah, well, it's a cold, breezy winter day, and we've got our winter gear out. I've got my hat and my scarf, but we're still holding off on the gloves. So.
Yeah, well, my family upstate's already had 3 snowstorms, so it's going to get to the city at some point. Well, Mio, what we'd like to do is just learn a little bit about you, and so perhaps you could start out by saying, well, who you are and what it is that you do, and just sort of tell me a little bit about yourself.
All right. Again, my name is Mio Perin. I've been working at Bertelsmann here in New York for approximately 15 years, and my primary responsibilities are to manage our Create Your Own Career global recruitment infrastructure, and parts of that are the employment branding aspect, but primarily it's the technology and all our systems that come into play to basically help, on one hand, our recruiters and our HR folks and decision makers have access to the best tools in the best ways possible, and on the other hand, to make sure that our candidates, potential candidates, customers, community have the best access to information, job opportunities, and learning opportunities for the company on the web, on our social networks, even desktop widgets. So, my job and my team's job is really to bring all those things together to manage several systems. We have a couple of flagship properties, such as our Create Your Own Career website, which is the global jobs and careers website for Bertelsmann, and that's a external facing site. But we've also recently launched an internal Create Your Own Career website, which is basically our first global internal job board for Bertelsmann employees, and that's really, really cool because it's packed with lots of social media and interactive features.
That is really neat. It's interesting. I'm running a conference here at the end of November, and one of the speakers is coming from Cummins Engines, and that's one of her key things. That it's taken her 3 years for them to allow her to go even online and do recruiting, but they did have some good internal stuff, and she's used that as the sales tool to help promote having an external site. So in one sense, she's done it the other way around. But I think that's a fantastic opportunity. What's the take-up, Ben, of employees? Are they really enjoying it?
Yeah, well, we kicked it off with a lot of contests. So we allowed employees from all over the world to tell their story. So either a cool opportunity at Bertelsmann, a great project, just a funny moment, whatever that is, whatever their story was. And I think we've had over 100 participants, which actually is a lot for people to submit a story. And 3 winners received an iPad from all over the world. Additionally, we have something called the 175 tweets, and it's basically our kind of take on Twitter, but it's only for our employees. And employees can go in and commemorate our 175-year anniversary by telling us what that means to them in 175 characters or less. And all this information, the stories and the tweets, go into what we call the cloud. And the cloud is this social media engine that I talked about earlier on. And it's basically a living cloud that's on the top of the homepage, and it's available from every page. And as new content in our social media channels, so the 175 tweets, news stories, Facebook, YouTube, Flickr, and some other channels is updated, it's showing there in real time, and users can click on it and go deeper and participate and communicate and collaborate all at the same time.
Well, I think that's really very encouraging, because one of the challenges that I've seen, at least here in Europe, Mio, is that everybody is expecting that social media is going to be the great new recruiting channel, and they've missed out that what it really is about is communications. And it sounds like you've kept that focus at its communications channels and tying everything together. Certainly, it sounds very exciting what you're doing for both the employees and external. How have you seen the impact of social on what you're doing? Has it improved communications, the links with candidates and your internal staff?
Yeah, actually, I definitely think social media has been the change agent, which I guess has made me the change agent as well in the organization. But communication is improving and has improved because we have thousands of people now that are accessible from different networks, and all these people are now able to directly communicate not only with me but with other members of our Bertelsmann community, which I'd like to coin as ambassadors. Although we don't have an official ambassador program, I think it's happening a little more organically. And so now you have Facebook where people can say happy thoughts. They can also contradict certain things. They can question certain activities. And I think all that's building is a transparent culture between us and the public, between potential candidates, between the community, but also as a hybrid between our existing employees and potential employees, because both have access to the same channels. And so we're not kind of, building a wall. We're more or less tearing down this major wall of communication and putting everybody in the same place, because there is one story, not two stories.
So if I didn't know better, I'd say you're a marketing guy, not an HR guy, because it sounds like a marketing story.
Yeah, I mean, I am a marketing person by education. I study international marketing, and when I approached human resources from day one, marketing was at the backbone of everything that I've done. 10 years ago, when we started working on our recruitment website, we were only selling the Bertelsmann story, and there was only the Bertelsmann logo on our website. My first challenge was to bring on our divisions and introduce the concept of co-branding.
Right.
And ever since then, we've only increased that, and we've only built up upon that. And obviously, 10 years later, we're in a much further place than we've ever been before, and we will continue to grow on that as we move forward as well.
Well, and I love it, because I know when you and I met in Germany last year, that one of the things I liked is that you also were going out and examining every new social media channel that showed up to make sure that you secured the Bertelsmann brands on those media so that no one could actually pirate them away. And when I tell people that story, they kind of look and go, oh yeah, maybe we should do that. But you know that they're never going to get around to it.
Yeah. It's something that I found to be very important, and again, it's something that we continue doing with all the new channels that come about. I make it a part of my weekly business to go onto a website that is my personal favorite, both for personal resources but also for professional resources that somehow end up working for Bertelsmann. I go to a website called go2web20.net, and that's basically an online directory of the latest social media startups. And I look at what is relevant for recruiting, what is relevant for employment branding, what is relevant for business. And then I take a deep dive into these sites, look at whether or not there are tools we can use to improve our processes, or whether there are networks that simply help us connect and communicate with people. And if the answer is yes to either of those two questions, then we sign on and we start using it. At a minimum, from a branding point of view, to secure our name and have a presence, but sometimes it becomes a crucial, integral part of our processing.
Well, I think that's just very sensible, and part of what it says to me is that, in one sense, you've built a department, not so much a department, but built a team that's been enabled to do these things and really get on and build it. And I'm sure it wasn't as easy as it sounds. But what I find so challenging is how few companies are enabling their HR department or their resourcing department or even their marketing department to get out there and do this stuff. Now, was this primarily driven because you're sitting in New York and you have that capability, or were you getting the same support from, say, from Germany, from headquarters over there?
We have the same challenges, or have had the same challenges that every organization has. There are different stakeholders in the organization, and everybody has a different perspective because they're in different parts of the spectrum in terms of the challenge. So corporate communications would have one point of view, senior management would have another point of view, HR, folks who deal with recruiting on a daily basis have another point of view, and of course I have a completely different point of view. And my job, again, not to repeat myself, but my job is to be the change agent. My job is to be a disruptive force in the organization, and that means collaborating and getting different people to understand, to learn, and to buy in. And part of my job is education, to my team. Part of my job is education to management, and part of my job is education to the overall organization to really make sure that people have an understanding, because how can we collaborate and move forward when we all have our own biases on what things can go right, what things can go wrong? And so my job is really to bring all that together to help educate and to help propel and move forward so that there is a win-win-win-win situation across the board on many different facets and on many different challenges.
And of course, being the type of organization that Bertelsmann is, with lots of different brands, which are consumer brands, it goes all the way through to eventually ensuring that the sales-facing brand of the company is also represented correctly. Because what so many companies forget is that every single one of those candidates and employees that you touch are also potential customers.
Exactly. And that's something that we also want to propel even further. So one thing that we've majorly discussed and thought about is the challenge of whether or not we further integrate the business side of things onto our recruitment end. And so far we've kept them separated and used mainly the purpose of communicating and educating, so people are fully aware of what's going on, but we've not mixed kind of the business with pleasure, if you know what I mean. But it's definitely something that we've also thought about, which is, should we offer a special for Random House book to our candidates or to our applicants? And that question remains to be answered.
But I think it is part of the future. Mio, fantastic. I think you and I could talk for about another 30 or 40 minutes without stop, but we're coming to the end of the conversation due to time constraints. I just really appreciate it. Anything else you'd like to say? You know, where's Mio going next?
Mio is thinking of new opportunities at the moment, and really looking at what's out there and where he can be a disruptive force in the future. So that remains to be seen.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to getting together with you when I'm next in New York and having a pizza and beer or three. This is Alan Whitford and Mio Perin. It's been the RCEURO Thought Leader Conversation. Mio, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you so much.